Hi everyone, my name is Steph, this is the Novelty Corner and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm here with another try chapter video. This time we are going through my queer romance ebook Kindle folder. That's because there's 40 something books sitting in this folder. I'll get the actual number in a minute, and I just want to make my way through some of them. The Queer Lit Readathon is coming up later this month. I do have plans for that with some of my physical books that I own that are queer titles, but I wanted to tackle my queer book folder on the Kindle because there's just quite a few books in there. Now, I will preface this by saying that the books in the folder are all queer romances. I know that some of the authors are queer authors, but I am not also trying to out people for that. We'll see how we go with the books that are in here. But yes, we're going to choose 10 books using a random number generator, and then I'm going to try the first chapter of them, and then I will probably read at least one of them by the end of this video. It's a fairly overcast and miserable day here. There's supposed to be some fairly decent storms a little bit later on, so it's the perfect day for reading. I've also got a few little other jobs that I'm doing around the place, so the chapter reading may not be, consecutive, but it will all happen today. So currently there are 46 queer romance titles in my folder, so I'm just going to bring up a random number generator. I always forget to turn the brightness down on my phone before I do this. That would make life so much easier. Okay, first one is 2, which is an anthology. The Love Is All anthology, which I've had for absolutely ages. Okay, the next number is 22, which is Space for More by Emily Antoinette. All right, the next one is 44, which is Close Quarter by Anna Zabo. Okay, the next one is 28, which is Beneath the Indigo Sky by R. Hawthorne and D.W. Michaels. Okay, number 10 is What Are the Odds by R.M. Virtue. All right, so 39 is actually the second book in the series, so I'm just going to go to the first book in the series because whatever. And that is In the Middle of Somewhere by Roan Parrish. Okay, 32 is Learning Curve by N.R. Walker. We've got another N.R. Walker. 21 is Perfect Catch. Okay, 11 is Wildfire by Garrett Leigh. And the last one is 4, which is Unhallowed by Jordan L. Hawke. Alrighty, so I'm going to jump in and start reading some first chapters. The first book that came up in our random numbers was Love Is All Volume 4, which is a charity anthology that came out years ago. And it was a charity anthology for trans rights. So I read the foreword, which was by Annabeth Albert, who is an author that I have read and enjoyed for the longest time. She's probably one of the first romance authors I ever read as an adult. So her foreword was really interesting. And then the first story is called Love and Pride by R.L. Merrill, who is an author I've not read. And so the first chapter introduces us to our two protagonists. It's a sapphic queer story between a famous pop star and a producer. So the first part is an interview with the both of them. So it's from the interviewer's perspective and they're interjecting parts of their own story into the interview. And then we dive into how Eunice and Lydia's relationship came about. So that's where we've just gotten up to, is Eunice is about to meet Lydia for the first time. So far, the story is a little bit stilted, but I'm only a chapter in it and it's an anthology. And I think, how many stories are there? I didn't check that. Okay, there's 8 stories altogether. So could be a potential possibility, but for now I'm going to read the first chapter of Space for More. So Space for More is a sci-fi romance, and the very first chapter is from Eden's perspective. Eden is a human. She has just gone off her small colony for the first time, and she's now on, it's either an alien planet or a space station, where she's surrounded by so many different alien cultures, and she's just very, very overwhelmed at being pretty much the lone human there. If you can hear the sirens outside, it's because we had a ginormous gust of wind that has set off sirens everywhere, apparently. Anyway, she is attending for a medical conference and she is approached by someone who is there to collect her for some secret mission. And she's like, I'm not a spy. Like, I'm not equipped for any covert operations. And that's kind of where chapter 1 ends. Anyway, it's been a really interesting start to that story, and I'm kind of curious to see where it goes. I've read the first chapter of Close Quarter by Anna Zabo, which we are in the perspective of Reese. This is an MM romance. And Reese is a sculptor whose mother has recently passed away and he's inherited millions. The funeral has only just happened. Rather than returning to his regular life, has decided to take a transatlantic cruise back to New York, using that time to get his head back on straight. And when he is in one of the bars on this cruise ship, he ends up knocking a tray of drinks into another passenger. And the scene does not quite go according to plan. It's a very steamy first scene, but there is not a positive relationship between the two men. I didn't realize this was on a cruise ship. I've been watching too much Dr. Odyssey recently. First chapter of Beneath the Indigo Sky is from the perspective of Namid. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. It's first person, and they're just talking about how they feel different from everyone else. They don't know who they are or or what they are, and this book apparently has some sort of light paranormal elements that are kind of left up to interpretation. They just read like an empath because they're describing sort of what makes them different. And the example that's used is being in the supermarket and just walking past people and just feeling what they're feeling, like the woman who is so tired that she just wants to take a nap, and all Nimid wants to do is take a nap, and how the cashier is so angry that when Nimid actually accidentally touches their hand, he just wants to hit something. So it's a really interesting opening and a really interesting way to introduce a character. I'm kind of intrigued. So the first chapter of What Are the Odds is about Elena and Caius reconnecting. I'm not certain if any of the characters in the story identify as queer. R. and Virtues identifies as Two-Spirit, so that's the connection here. Elena and Caius were best friends until he married her sister, and then her sister cheated on him, and so they've separated, and at the start of the book they haven't seen each other in over a year. So it's the first time they're reconnecting and sharing sort of some good news. He's got a publishing deal. She's got a full ride scholarship into the best dancing school that she could possibly hope to get into. And she's dreading telling her mum and her sister. And he's just really positive and trying to tell her that she can do it, and, you know, she has to do it because this is her dream that she has to follow, right? So it's a really great story. R. and Virtues has a great writing style. I've always enjoyed reading his writing. I just need to do more of it. All right, so I totally forgot that I had to read in the middle of somewhere because for whatever reason my eyes just skipped over that on the list. This is by Roan Parrish, and in the first chapter we meet Daniel. He has just been for a job interview as a professor, and he's not quite sure why he's doing what he's doing or whether he really wants the job, even though he feels like he's going to be offered it. And he's driving along in this small town and he ends up in a car accident, and his car hits a tree, but he also realizes he's hit a dog, and he's absolutely devastated about this. And so he can't get cell reception, the car's, you know, damaged, and so he picks up this dog and starts walking, and eventually is found by this guy, and he's in the middle of nowhere, so he's freaking out. Anyway, this guy sort of leads him, takes him back and looks after the dog and looks after him because he's been in a car accident and he's very out of it. He ends up sort of talking about why, like, because he's freaking out. He finds out the other guy's name is Rex, and he just sort of unloads what's going on in his head, and Rex kisses him, and that's as far as it goes in the first chapter. But Roan Parrish's writing is just really lovely, and there's this vulnerability to Daniel, who's our protagonist character in the chapter, and I think the whole thing might be from his POV, but anyway, like he's quite vulnerable at the moment because of his relationship with his family, which is not great, and all of that sort of stuff, and all of that comes through in this first chapter, which is, you know, great. I honestly think I want to save this one for Queer Lit Readathon. I think that's what I want to do. So Learning Curve is the 6th book in the Franklin U series. This is a series of college romances. The first chapter is from Kobe's perspective. He is just starting out at college. He plays football. I think I snuck a peek at the start of the second chapter. I think he's a linebacker, but I mean, I don't even know anything about Australian rules football, let alone American football, so go figure. His parents are dropping him off at college for the first time, and he's just found out that he's not in a single room, he's sharing a room, and he is freaking out because he doesn't know if he's going to be able to live with somebody else. And that's where the chapter ends. Not sure I'm feeling college romance today, but that's fine. The next first chapter is another N.R. Walker book. It's going to be Perfect Catch. Perfect Catch is an novella, so I may end up reading this one in the vlog anyway, just as I always do if there's something that's super short, because I'm already 15% in after the first chapter, so it's kind of pointless not to finish it off, really. But that said, it did hook me in that first chapter. So we're in the perspective of Cal. It definitely sounds like it's set in Australia, as most of N.R. Walker's books are. So it's Cal and Troy's story. They've been best friends for ages. They grew up in a small kind of country town. They're the only two queer kids, but they've always been best friends and inseparable. And this is going to be a friends to lovers kind of story as they're going away for the weekend, which is usually a friends trip, but all of the other friends are not going for various reasons. And so it's the first time they've both ever been single at the same time as adults and are going away together on their own. I mean, it's just very much N.R. Walker's writing style, which is sweet and easy to get into. Wildfire is part of the Vino and Veritas series, which is a series of interconnected standalone stories based around a wine bar. Yeah, I think it's a wine bar, which would make sense given the name. Anyway, so this first chapter is from Kai's perspective. He is a plumber, I believe. He's basically working on the kitchen in this wine bar, and he's friends with the owners, and he's also living in the apartment above the bar. And we know that he has had some mental health troubles, and they're kind of just waiting for Tanner, who is the owner, to hire a chef. And so he's doing all of this work and just sort of waiting to find out what's going to happen with that. And he finds out that they've hired someone. His name is Joss. And when he talks to Tanner about it, he finds out that Tanner and his partner have told Joss that he can stay in the apartment with Kai, and they've just forgotten to tell him. And Kai isn't, like, he's not opposed to it, he's just kind of caught off guard that that's what's happening. From what I understand, this book has mental health rep, it also has ADHD rep, as well as Tourette's representation. So that's interesting to note. I've just read the first chapter of Unhallowed, which introduces multiple characters. So we have Vesper and we have Sebastian, who are our two main characters. Has a bit of a historical bent, bit paranormal, has the best opening line of all of the books. Let me bring it back up because, like, it's the only one that I highlighted the first line of. The monster boarded the train in Boston. I'm really intrigued by this book. I think I might hold off on it for the Queer Lit Readathon, maybe. So we have Vesper, who is traveling by train. He is a bookbinder by trade. And the very last thing that happens, so this chapter is split across multiple characters, but the very last thing from Vesper's section is, it says that no one else knows that the world was supposed to end 8 years ago and that Vesper was supposed to be the one to bring it about. And obviously the world has not ended and Vesper is still here. So I'm very intrigued by that storyline. And then we also meet Sebastian, who is talking with some friends around the fact that his mother's bookbinding apprentice has left. So I'm assuming Vesper is coming to the town to take on that role. And obviously there's going to be something between the two of them. That was very intriguing. I'm definitely looking forward to actually reading this one in full. But yeah, I think I'm going to save it for the Queer Lit Readathon. I am going to read Perfect Catch because that is only 80 pages long, but I won't read that one first. I'll save that for after I read the other book. Just for something a little bit different, I'm going to read Space for More by Emily Antoinette, which is the FFM polyamorous space alien romance kind of story, just because I haven't read anything like that for a while and it just feels a little bit different. And also Perfect Catch is an MM romance, so it just breaks it up a little bit. So I shall report back when I have read both of those books. So I finished Space for More and it's fine. Like, it's probably a 3-star read for me. I found it was a bit long for what it was because there's this, well, hang on, I'm getting ahead of myself. So it is a poly relationship between two aliens and a human. They're on a space station. The human, as I mentioned earlier, is there because she got a invitation to a medical conference. The MMC alien is also there for a conference, but he's also got access to schematics for life-saving technology that he is trying to make available or readily available to people when other people are trying to tightly control who has access to it. So when the human and the FMC alien are on planet, they are asked by some agents of the government to try and find out about these schematics, but they're told that Felix, who is the MMC alien, is selling them and that they're sort of weapons grade schematics as opposed to life-saving technology. And then to make things even more complex, Eden, who is our human FMC, and Felix have corresponded before. They've never met in person, but they, got along great. And Mesley, the alien FMC, and Felix also have a previous relationship because they're fated mates and they rejected each other. And so it's all a nice giant mess. The spy plot just didn't work for me because it didn't make sense. The relationship stuff was fine. The steam was great. Like, the space campiness of it all was fun. Yeah, I found myself getting distracted, which to me just means that the book itself is probably not for me. That said, I am still curious about the rest of the series because this is book 2 in a series. The epilogue of this book has the setup for the next book, which comes out in February next year, which is a human male and an alien non-binary character who may or may not be a space pirate. I mean, that sounds like a lot of fun. So I'm willing to give the author another try with that book in a little while. I've added it to my future KU list, so I'll keep an eye on that one and maybe give it a shot another time. Next up on the list is I'm going to finish off Perfect Catch before I wrap up this vlog. I'll let you know how that goes. That shouldn't take me too long. As predicted, Perfect Catch is just stinking cute. Oh my gosh. So it is a best friends to lovers trope. You have Cal and Troy, they're going away for their fishing weekend just outside of town. The other friends have bailed on them for reasons, mostly because they're trying to make them hook up, because for the first time in ages, neither Cal or Troy are dating anyone. And everyone knows that they have secretly been crushing on each other for ages and neither of them are willing to make the move. So it's very much a forced proximity situation. They end up caught in a storm in a tent. We know where this goes. Very cute and sweet, and the vulnerability that they have in terms of not wanting to let it ruin their friendship, but not wanting to let it go and wanting it to be something real. Very sweet. And both of them are tradies. One's a builder or a chippy and the other is a sparky or an electrician. That's for my US friends who like Australian weird names for things. Anyway, that's it for this try chapter video. I had a lot of fun with it. I am definitely going to add some of these to my week of reading during the Queer Lit Readathon. Close Quarter definitely Probably What Are the Odds by Iron Virtues, and probably Unhallowed. Feeling pretty good about all of that. Thank you very much for watching. In the comments, I would love to know if you've read any of these books. Are there some of these that you would prefer that I pick up sooner rather than later? Let me know down below. Otherwise, I hope that wherever you are in the world, you're staying safe and healthy, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye everyone.